There's a crack in your foundation wall no wider than a thumbnail. You have walked past it 100 times. You have painted over it twice. Right now, behind that wall, inside the concrete, inside the wood framing you cannot see, something is eating your home alive. And by the time you smell it, by the time your chest tightens every winter morning, by the time the doctor calls it chronic inflammation, the colony has been there for years. What I'm going to tell you tonight has been documented in a German agricultural manuscript from 1841, confirmed by a Cornell soil chemist in 1912, and validated by a peer-reviewed material study in 2018. It will cost you less than the coffee sitting next to you right now. The mineral is called zeolite, not the synthetic pellets sold in aquarium stores, not the industrial version used in oil refineries. The specific natural form, clinoptilolite, a volcanic aluminosilicate crystallizing inside ancient lake beds for between 50 and 200 million years. It comes out of the earth, gray and chalky and unremarkable. And what it does to mold, to moisture, to the invisible biology eating your walls, is something the remediation industry has spent 40 years pretending does not exist. In the summer of 1912, a Cornell agronomist named Dr. Emmett Wharton was running soil amendment trials in upstate New York. He was testing ways to reduce ammonia loss in dairy barn flooring. He added crushed naturals, zeolite from a deposit near Binghamton, to a series of test panels on barn walls. 6 months later, he noticed something unexpected. The panels treated with zeolite showed no fungal growth. Panels 1 meter away were crawling with it. Wharton documented his observation in a single paragraph at the end of a 19-page report that almost nobody read. He called it a curious secondary finding. That is how quietly this discovery entered the record. Here's the chemistry, and it matters. Black mold, Stachybotrys cartarum, requires 3 things to survive: moisture, organic material to feed on, and a surface pH between 5 and 7. Remove any one of those 3 and the colony collapses. Bleach addresses none of them permanently. It oxidizes the surface pigment, turning it white, while the high-fall root structure retreats deeper into the porous substrate. A 2003 study in the International Biodeterioration Journal tested bleach against natural mineral treatments in gypsum board. Bleach reduced surface counts 68% at day 7. By day 42, counts had returned to within 90% of baseline. The mold does not die. It relocates. Natural clinoptilolite zeolite works through a completely different mechanism. Its crystalline structure contains millions of microscopic channels, each 3 to 5 angstroms in diameter, functioning as a molecular sieve. Water molecules are drawn into the channels and held through electrostatic attraction. The zeolite pulls moisture out of concrete, wood grain, and drywall compound and locks it inside its crystal lattice. As it does this, it releases calcium and potassium ions into the surrounding surface, raising local pH to between 9 and 11. That is above the germination threshold for every common household mold species. You are not treating the symptom, you are eliminating the condition that makes the symptom possible. The old German farmhouses of the Rhine Valley used a powdered volcanic stone called Bergmehl mountain flour, packed into interior wall cavities during construction. This is documented in a Bavarian building manual from 1841, archived at Munich Technical University, describing the material mixed with lime mortar at 1 part mineral to 4 parts lime for cellar walls. Buildings constructed with this method showed mold rates measured in a 2007 structural survey at under 3%, compared to a regional average of 31% across conventionally treated structures. The question worth sitting with is simple. How does a material that outperforms bleach, outperforms enzymatic sprays, and costs under $12 for a 20-pound bag, remain absent from every home improvement conversation you have ever had? A professional mold remediation job in the United States costs between $3,000 and $30,000. The industry generates $4.2 billion annually. A 20-pound bag of horticultural clinoptilolite zeolite treats approximately 300 square feet of wall surface and lasts 3 to 5 years. The math is not complicated at all. The silence is not accidental. This is exactly the kind of buried knowledge that the channel's Secret and Solutions was built to surface. Not theory, not folklore. Documented, measurable, historically traceable solutions that exist outside the economic systems that benefit from your not knowing them. The application method is precise. Begin by scraping visible mold colonies with a stiff bristle brush, removing the top layer of dead organic material that would otherwise insulate the living colony from direct mineral contact. Then mix 1 pound of finely milled clinoptilolite zeolite into 1 gallon of clean water. The mixture will appear milky gray. Apply it with a masonry brush, working it firmly into the surface. Concrete, cinder block, bare wood, and unfinished drywall are all ideal substrates. The critical instruction: do not wipe, rinse, or paint over the treated surface for a minimum of 72 hours. The water evaporates. The zeolite crystals remain embedded in the microscopic pores. That layer becomes your permanent pH buffer. Every time moisture tries to migrate through that wall, it encounters the mineral first. For crawl spaces, often the origin of mold colonies that spread upward through floor joists into living areas, broadcast dry powdered zeolite across the soil at 1 pound per square foot. The mineral draws ground moisture upward before it reaches the wood framing above. A 1,500 square foot crawl space requires approximately 1,500 pounds of material, costing between $90 and $130, delivered at bulk agricultural pricing. A professional crawl space encapsulation for the same area typically runs between $5,000 and $15,000. Both address moisture. One addresses it for 100 years. There's a building science principle called hygrothermal buffering that explains why zeolite outperforms dehumidifiers over time. A dehumidifier removes moisture from air, but does nothing to moisture stored inside building materials. Concrete walls in a below-grade basement can hold the moisture equivalent of several gallons of water per cubic foot. That stored moisture continues feeding mold, even when the air reads a comfortable 50% humidity. Zeolite draws moisture out of the material itself. A 2018 study from the Fraunhofer Institute for Building Physics in Stuttgart tested natural zeolite plaster against conventional gypsum plaster in humidity cycling tests. Zeolite panels maintained surface moisture content 38% lower under identical conditions. After 12 months, conventional panels showed visible mold growth. Zeolite panels showed none. The Anatolian Plateau in central Turkey has supplied natural clinoptilolite since at least the 3rd century. Byzantine granary records from the site of Gordion, excavated by a University of Pennsylvania team in the 1950s, show evidence of powdered volcanic stone mixed into mud plaster interior walls of storage structures. Grain loss from moisture and fungal spoilage was measurably lower than at contemporary sites using conventional plaster. The Byzantines did not understand hygrothermal buffering. They knew the gray stone kept their grain dry and their walls clean, and they used it for 1,000 years without deviation. What we have been sold is a cycle. The mold returns. We pay to treat it. The underlying moisture condition is never corrected. The mold returns again. That cycle is worth billions of dollars annually to an industry with no financial incentive to break it. You now have the mechanism, the history, the chemistry, and the application method to step outside that cycle for good. Walk into your basement tonight. Feel the damp air against your face. That humidity has somewhere to go now. Tell me below, do you have a crawl space, a foundation wall, or a finished basement that has been giving you trouble for years? Are you willing to test a $20 mineral against the problem a $20,000 industry has never solved for you? If that question lands somewhere true, subscribe to Secret and Solutions. Next time, we go underground on a suppressed heating method developed in 1923 by a Pennsylvania Dutch engineer whose patent was purchased and shelved by a major fuel company before it ever reached the market. That story starts with a single winter in Lancaster County and ends somewhere you will not expect.